Welcome back to Breaking It Down with Jodi Marks. I am your host, Jodi Marks, and we have an amazing episode for you today. I have two amazing business owners, and they are going to help us, just uncover being a Black business owner and, the ups and downs, but just the amazingness that both of these women have contributed to the Black community in both of their businesses. I will let them take it away because I cannot wait for them to tell you all about the amazing things that both of their organizations do. So first, can you guys tell us about yourself and about your businesses?
All right. My name is Leigh Lester, and I am the founder and executive director of Ubuntu Institute of Learning. And Ubuntu is a South African word that means I am because we are. I lived in South Africa for a short term. It's a word that they really embraced. I knew that some form of fashion, when I got back to this, I'm going to use Ubuntu. And so when I decided to start a nonprofit, it really just made perfect sense. And my nonprofit really focuses on social justice as a whole. And within that, there's three very distinct areas: affordable housing. I do training and advocacy in that space. Entrepreneurship, mainly with nonprofit leaders, but also with low-income communities of color. And then diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And again, training in that space. I love the work I do. I feel like I work all the time and I don't work at all. So it's so much fun. I've got some really cool projects coming up soon. So I'm happy to be in Long Beach, and thank you so much for having me, Jodi. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for being here.
And my name is Debora. Oh, yes. Okay. My name is Debora Wonderchek, and I am the founding director of the Arts and Learning Conservatory. And we're located in Costa Mesa. And the Arts and Learning Conservatory is a performing arts school for children ages 5 to 19. And this particular organization that I founded was specifically with the mission in mind to keep the arts equitable and accessible to all children, no matter what their backgrounds are. But specifically with that, with being inclusive of all, we have made a point to make the arts accessible to Black and Brown children throughout Orange County, also into Riverside County, as well as into LA with the performing arts. So specifically orchestra instruments such as violin, viola, cello, band instruments and band programs in different schools, as well as musical theater. I'm also a cellist and an orchestral conductor, director of music, music professor at a few different universities, and I'm also director of performing arts as far as being a consultant to different school districts who need to strengthen their music programs or even make sure that they have one that's sustainable. So that's what I do.
Wow. Both of you wear so many hats.
A lot.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So much. How did your businesses start? Why did you, get into that kind of business? Leigh?
So let's see. I started, it's been a journey. Definitely, it's been a journey. So I started my career back in the 90s as a mortgage banker, right out of junior high school. And I really enjoyed that work, but I didn't enjoy the sales side of it. And right before the last recession, 07, 08, I knew it was time to move on. And I had been working a lot with nonprofit organizations, so I went to work for a nonprofit. Loved the work, but didn't love the stress of it. Couldn't understand why they were struggling so, because I had been on the for-profit side for a long time. So I really wanted to look and try to understand where that was coming from. So I decided to go back to grad school, and I'm almost done with my doctorate on nonprofit sustainability. But the idea was just to figure out, how can I help these nonprofits? Because in some rural areas, one nonprofit may serve 7, 8 counties. And so if they close their doors, then that community is devastated. So I see it personal, and it's not pretty. So what can I do? And so that kind of got me more into like, okay, I'm definitely going to do a nonprofit or a training that helps nonprofits. And once I started my LLC initially, I did that in 2010. I was like, you know what? I have to show them that this will work, because me just telling them, me showing them the research was not getting anywhere. So it really became a proof of concept. Like I said, okay, I'm going to start a nonprofit, and I'm going to show that you can do it with a model. You can do it as a social enterprise. You can do it where you're generating your own revenue. And so that's been a real focus for the work I do. I generate my own revenue, and the revenue supports the work that I do. And that helps with my consulting work. So hopefully more nonprofits will be sustainable. And then just the actual buckets are just things I'm passionate about, like affordable housing. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. My grandmother was an entrepreneur, so I didn't know I could. Right. I grew up with my grandma having several businesses, and always thought that would be something I would do. And then the social justice work has been in the last 5 years, and that really just drives me. I love it.
Yes. And Debora?
I started my organization, it was really in my mind since I was a child. And Leigh, it's awesome to hear that you came from a heritage of entrepreneurism for you to just grow into. With me, I grew up into a family that was all about music. I'm the youngest of 7, and we're all string players. I'll play violin, viola, cello, string bass, piano in our family. Classically trained vocalist is my sister. And in my family, my sister's the oldest, I'm the youngest, and there's 5 boys in between. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So with growing up in my family, my mom was not a musician, but she loved music. She cherished the arts like none other, and felt like this is what my children were created to do. She specifically asked God for a lot of children. She wanted to have like 12 or 15 kids, believe it or not. And that's a whole nother story.
Wow.
But with having all of us, it was her desire to have us play for the glory of God and to give back to the church. Or she had us performing for senior centers, senior homes. She had us performing in churches. She really believed that the gifts that we were given were from God, and I believe so as well, and that it was to be shared as a gift to others. The funny thing is as we began to get older, we were all taking private lessons and things of that sort. There was a music school in Chicago called the Jack Benny Music School, who helped scholarship many of us to continue. She paid, her and my dad made money to try to help, but when you have 7 kids, it's expensive. So they helped a lot. We became really strong musicians, known throughout our little community in north side of Chicago, to the point that our music teachers were like, if your children continue the way they're going, college should be paid for. There should be scholarships for all of them to go to college. So then my sweet little Christian mom turned into a drill instructor, and was like, you practice. So we began to we practiced, we did everything that we knew to do. We were very gifted in it. And 5 out of the 7 of us went to a 4-year university and got our degrees in not just music, but all different areas. And from that point, upon my getting my degree in college, I knew that I had to give back and do what my mom had opened the doors for me for. I had to do that for other children, because it literally changed the trajectory of our family's lives. We were able to travel the world, performing in different orchestras. We were able to see things that we would not have done, being in a family of 7 with 2 working class parents that couldn't afford to do those particular things. But it just opened my eyes to a whole different world. And I thought, you know what, one day when I'm older, I want to open up a business or a school that would do the same things that I was afforded as a child. I would be able to do that for other children, and it will change their outlook on life. So that's why I started it. And with being in Orange County, because we're in Costa Mesa, we're the black people, as you know, we're only 3%.
I was like 5 of you, right?
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. So even with doing what I've been doing now, it's 17 years of having my business in Costa Mesa. I've still made it a point to find people like me, and still Hispanics, brown, everybody. I'm just like, this is something that's going to change your life if you just embrace it and see what music can do or the arts can do for your lives, as well as what it can make you do, even with public speaking and just being able to do something as simple as a book report with confidence. So that's why I started it, just to make a difference.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Both of you, yes, I love what both of you said, though, that, family paved the way and, like, kind of helped you see. Like you said, Leigh, entrepreneurship, really, like your grandma, that, and your mother, Debora, like, those two women really, like, helped shape where you are today. And I find that amazing because a lot of the times as kids, you kind of see, like, your younger cousins or something, and they're, like, growing up, and you're just like, oh, yeah, but they're listening. They're taking in all the information that they're given, and then you don't know where they're going to take it. Like you two, you guys are amazing businesses, both of you, and they're changing, how you're in your communities. And like you said, Debora, you went to Orange County. How did you pick Orange County? Why was that why was that your stopping point?
Okay, yeah, that's a whole story within itself. Like I said,
hold on, let me get my drink.
That's funny. Okay, so I grew up, like I said, in Chicago, and then moved to California. We were originally in Carlsbad, California. That's where I went to school and everything, but I went to college in Orange County. So I just kind of stayed in the area. Some kids do when you graduate from college, you sometimes stay in the area. But I had no clue when I even came to college. Well, I should have known. When I came to college, I was like one of 20 Black people that I saw on campus regularly. But I just didn't really think or realize what I was coming into and how difficult of an area it would be as a Black woman in the OC, let alone Costa Mesa, Newport Beach. It's like, it was just, I don't know. I feel like where I was placed was God's plan, and it's where I needed to be to make a difference the way He had me do it, but it wouldn't have been my destination place to be initially, but it is what it is. But that's how I came here. It's for university. Yeah.
Yes. And Leigh, how did you end up getting your location?
So I actually grew up in I'm a California native, but I moved away to North Carolina in my my early 20s. And when I decided to come back here after school, I still had a lot of really close high school, and I reached out to them and said, hey, I want to go someplace where I can work on my dissertation and not be stressed with traffic and the mumbo jumbo of being in LA. And you guys know me, so where do you think I should go? And all my friends, save one, said, oh, you got to go to Long Beach. And so, trusting my friends because they're my family, I came, it was just like a no-brainer. I came to Long Beach and I checked it out, and it had a nice balance of grunge and like peace and good food. I'm a foodie to my core, and a good mix of people. It was a beautiful of people, so I was like, yeah, I'm home.
Yes, it's funny because I've worked like in the theaters in the OC and also Long Beach, and I will say what you guys described is exactly that, especially in the OC. Like, I will say, especially in theater, I will go to auditions and I'll be like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in Long Beach, I'll see so many people, so much diversity. I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. So
right.
It's very different.
Yeah. Like
the locations of places are so different. And it's definitely, it's fun, but like you said,
it's challenging, but that makes me think of a saying. I don't know if your moms have said this too, but she's like, oh yeah, you're the only raisin in a bowl of cornflakes. Have you ever heard that saying before?
I heard that one.
me that? She's like, yep, you're the only raisin in a bowl of cornflakes. I'm like, that's exactly what OC is. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Has the pandemic affected your businesses in any way?
I'll let you go first, Deborah.
It's impacted it greatly. Typically, we're in about 40 schools throughout Orange County, like I said, a little bit in Riverside and LA County. But we went from serving 1,200 students faithfully every year to only serving 150 during this pandemic. It dropped drastically.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had to come up with different ways to continue serving the students. Like I mentioned earlier, we have instrumental students that are violinists, doing orchestra and band. We had to transfer them quickly online. And it worked out well to the end of the school year, which was June. But by the time we came around to the fall, what we realized is kids were so burned out on Zoom and just the whole experience that many of our 400 instrumental students, like I mentioned, they didn't necessarily come back. They said, when you're ready and we're in person, we're back. But we had, out of that 400, only 65 came back. So that it helped. It really impacted us in a very great way. Yeah.
Yes. Especially with music.
And I would say, yeah. For me, it impacted, but it was more of a pivot because a lot of what I do is I travel and train. And so it's like the best of my two passions, right? I love teaching. So I was living my dream. And so, yeah, when they were, you can't really fly, I was like, oh, okay. So fortunately, my business was remote for over 10 years. So transitioning to doing training online was not a challenge so much for my business. I started developing more curriculum, obviously. The biggest challenge is when you travel and train, you get per diems, the pay is different, right? So I'm still, training with national intermediaries, but when you're doing a webinar or an in-person or a hybrid course, it just doesn't pay the same. So it's forced my entrepreneurial brain to go, okay, this is what the universe has given us. How do we make lemonade out of it? And I've been fortunate that I've been able to, start networking more and putting together some amazing partnerships and really just moving more in. So I'm happy with the pivot, although, my bank account is taking a bit of a dip in the meantime as I'm, kind of retooling, but I'm excited about like where it's going. So I can't really complain about that part.
I like the word
what
that
are some
you
things
use
that
with
you've added?
retooling.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm here for this. Go ahead.
When Leah said retooling, that's the key word, because even though the pandemic hurt us as far as us physically meeting with kids, we had to then, my mentality at that time just turned to, I've got to just give. I've got to just do goodwill and just see whatever happens, because I'm not going to close my doors. I'm not going down. So we began to give free master classes, and we had people from Broadway even offering to do these classes online on Zoom for our students, and not even asking us for money. And we would try to give them a little $50. And, oh, no, keep your money.
Right.
Like you take care of you. But that really, when we decided to just do goodwill, which we have been, but to the point where it doesn't cost you kids anything, just show up. That's when people started showing up, and others from the community started helping us. So that was a beautiful thing. And then we also decided to partner with the YMCA, because what we realized is that they never closed during the pandemic. They continued to serve the essential workers and serve the children of essential workers. And my mentality was, look, if those kids are just there, why don't we just take our programs there? Even if it meant virtually there, the kids are still physically there. And so that program has sparked and ensued for the YMCAs of all of Orange County. So if it wasn't for the pandemic, I would not have had that opportunity. So yes, I agree. It's retooling, and That's been amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome.
I was talking to
YMCA.
I was just going to say, I was
yeah.
talking to a colleague today, and that's something I think that as Black women, we're used to doing. We're used, as caregivers, typically, we're used to, okay, we've got a lemon, we've got to make lemonade. And I know we say that phrase all the time, but we do it a lot as a demographic group. So I think with COVID happening and a lot of folks just having a really hard time with it, and we're having a challenge, but I think for us, it's just another, okay, well, we just got to figure this out, come up with a solution versus we can't just sit back and cry. Babies got to eat, period. So we got to do what we got to do.
Exactly. Baby needs some shoes on his feet, so we got to keep moving forward.
Keep it moving.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes. Because of this pandemic, like you're saying, retooling, it also makes you think about the future and kind of when you do kind of reopen. And since you said you're retooling, I'm wondering, are you going to keep those virtual options still? And I know you're like the YMCA, and I know your virtual webinars and stuff. Do you think you'll still keep that, or do you want to kind of go back to hands-on in person?
I know for me,
I can't wait. Go ahead.
You can't wait for what? You can't wait for what? In person or to travel?
To hug my colleagues. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a touchy-feely person.
Oh, right.
And even though it's like every other month, I'm in a room with a room full of people who do good work in their communities, and we hug each other and we talk to each other and we have that community. And I can't wait to get back to that. I mean, Zoom is nice, but it's just not the same. Hugging somebody you haven't seen for 6 months and like, I love you, sister, hug. You know what I mean? So I can't wait for that. I mean, I'll still do some stuff virtually, definitely. That's opened some opportunities, especially I'm doing some stuff overseas, which never would have kicked off without that. But yeah, I can't wait to see my people.
Right. Yeah. You can't do theater. You can do theater with this virtual stuff, but it is not the same. It is not. Same with playing instruments. You need to feel the people next to you, hear their sound, balance yourself with each other. Oh, yeah. I can't wait for in-person as well. I will continue the virtual with the Broadway, anyone that's wants to do our master classes. We're going to continue that, but I can't wait for the day that we're all in person as well.
Me too, especially for theater. I cannot wait to be back.
Yeah.
Even just watching it or just being on stage, the exhilaration you feel as a performer, it's like nothing. And like you said, the confidence that your students get from that, I just, I miss that so much. I really do. Because I've done virtual things like with John, but like you're right. You know, the audition process is different because it's online. You know, just the camaraderie and creating something together during your rehearsals is completely different because you can normally run lines with people.
Parties.
Right.
That doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen.
Right.
But I'm still waiting for, John says we're going to have a cast party after the pandemic. So I'm still waiting for this cast party to happen.
And then we should get invited, right? Because we're part of it.
Yes.
Yes, right.
Yes, everybody's invited. But yeah, and what you're saying, especially for the kids, Debora, what you said, you know, they get worn out with Zoom. They've had to be on Zoom this whole time and not be with their friends, and you know that music can be an escape for them, and then it's kind of just like another barrier they have to go over. Have you had to talk with any of your students about that? About maybe, you know, their love of music maybe being like, oh, I love it, but Zoom.
You know what? The instrumental students that I've had, because like I mentioned earlier, I'm a cellist. I still conduct. I have 4 orchestras that I work with, youth orchestras. And with talking with the kids.
Go ahead, Black woman.
Oh, listen to you.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I'm just saying, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm going to lift you up.
Oh, thank you. I'll take the lifting. But anyway,
Yeah.
the kids, I'm finding that they treasure their instruments more now than ever before. Before it was like pulling teeth. Come on, you got to practice. We got to get better. No, now because of this pandemic, they've had to have something else to focus on. They don't want to be on the computer as much. So my students, at least, they're like, no, I'm practicing more. I've had parents tell me, little Cindy got her instrument out, and we have not ever seen her do that. We're always telling her to do it, but the pandemic, the kids are, those who do have this opportunity are gravitating to their instruments more now than ever before. It's more of an appreciation of what they had that they didn't realize how special it's been. So beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And Leigh, I have a question because, you said housing developments that you work with and stuff like that. In this pandemic, are you seeing a lot more challenges with that? People maybe not making rent or having trouble and they come to you, or how does that work? How does that program work?
Ooh, don't get me started. So yeah, that's something that actually keeps me up at night, because I don't do direct service in regards to that, but I train the counselors who work directly with the public, and so I hear the horror stories. I hear the fear. I'm actually teaching a rental class now, and all we can do is try to prepare we can. Some municipalities have done a great job of taking community development block grant funds to help make rent payments for people, but some have not. And so, there's a moratorium, but when it's lifted, we do expect for the homeless numbers to rise. And in LA County, we had 70,000 homeless before COVID. So after COVID, I mean, it's crazy. And then I've been championing this whole van life thing, because I'm like, people have an alternative way of living, but most municipalities don't allow, you can't live in your car. But if it's built out so that it's fully self-contained, you should be allowed to do that. And then you could generate revenue with the city by having a park in a parking lot and pay a fee. So, I'm constantly like, okay, what's some alternative we can come up with? And then one thing I brought up actually recently on a few calls is the housing market is booming though. People are buying houses left and right, but it's not low-income communities of color. So what's happening is what happened in LA, back in 07, 08, is people are paying more for homes than they're worth. And if you're low income, you're probably getting some sort of down payment assistance or some subsidy where you can't afford to pay more because the bank's not going to lend you more if the house isn't, if the value isn't there. So that just increases the gentrification of our communities even faster, because now we can afford to buy in our own communities because what's happening in the market, and it's not illegal, but to me it's unethical. And so I'm screaming it on a soapbox to whoever will listen, like, hey, we did this before, it didn't work out so well, right? Mostly for us, it didn't work out so well, but it didn't work out so well, period, because people of high value homes were walking away because the property values plummeted. And so I think that's just a practice we should not be doing. But it's not illegal. It's part of, unchecked capitalism, in my opinion. And so that worries me. That definitely worries me. So yeah, those things keep me up at night. Like, how are we going to deal with this?
Yes, but thank you for, taking the time to, teach those counselors on how to help, because so many people are going to be asking those hard-hitting questions about what do we do? How can I stay where I am? And it's, and like you said, LA County has a very, very high homeless rate. And it's something that I've been thinking about too. So when I heard about, your organization, I was like, wow, there are actually people out there helping and trying to change this, because you don't hear a lot about the homeless here. Like, you see them and you're like, oh, they're there, but you don't hear anybody trying to help. At least
there's
I
a
don't.
lot of folks trying to. It's not sexy, right? Talking about homelessness is not sexy, so it's not going to make the evening news. But let me tell you, there are in the trenches who are doing the work every day and going home and just crying like dinosaur tears because it's heartbreaking. And you can only do what you can do. As somebody actually came to my office here 2 weeks ago, and I didn't know he was homeless. He was dressed normal, and I thought he was just looking for office space. So I didn't, hey, how you doing? Whatever. And I went on my way. And another colleague, did you see the suitcase outside? And immediately, like, tears start to stream down my face.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, you're getting me. I'm about to.
Oh, God. I mean, because there, by the grace of God, that's me, right? That's any of us. So many people are living paycheck to paycheck or a couple checks down the road. And with the pandemic, as much as we teach, you should have 3 to 6 months in the bank. It's been more than that. So people were doing what they were supposed to do, and there's still no safety net. And so, yeah, that gets me.
Wow.
Sorry, I didn't lose it like that. But,
no, it's important to talk about, and that's why I wanted you on, to talk about this so people are aware that there are organizations that are helping and they can go get help. They're not alone. Like we were talking about, you're not alone. There are resources for everybody out there. Exactly. But you said how it takes a toll.
Definitely.
Yeah, it takes a toll. How do you kind of, get yourself up and just every day just hit it harder and harder? Because especially as a business owner, you're also dealing with so many more things than just that one project, like, some of your colleagues might be dealing with.
Right. I think it's the balance that helps me. First, I love what I do, and I feel like my life is going to matter through my work, right? And so whether I'm helping a counselor with homelessness or I'm helping pre-purchase side, I teach that as well. Foreclosure mitigation, budgeting, credit, all of that. So if I'm helping someone on that side, it's feel good, right? If I'm helping them start a business, it's a feel good. If I'm helping a company instill some diversity and equity and inclusion, belonging strategies so that their employees feel welcome and not like I did when I first started out in banking, being the only Black woman at a table and constantly getting talked over and constantly, I felt invisible, right? But maybe my work is going to keep the next person not having to feel that way. So that feeds it. And I travel, except for COVID. No plane somewhere, so that helps. And I've got
yes, getting to see things.
I'm serious. I have the best friends. Yeah. That balance. You have to have the balance. You can't just do the one thing. That's why I think a lot of nonprofits have high turnover because, you're a specialty in foreclosure. No, you don't want to do that. Balance that counselor out. Give them some foreclosure, but give them some pre-purchase. The feel good to balance it. Otherwise, they're going to take it home and they're going to leave because you can't take on so much.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Debora, how do you, because especially working with a lot of kids, I could only imagine, you're kind of having to navigate through them. And you said they're ranging in age. So I feel like you're going through every different motion from puberty to, first love because they're like at 19. And so how do you handle that? Do you have that come up and you kind of are like, use that for your music kind of thing?
Well, with my scenario, I have the organization, the Arts and Learning Conservatory. Oh,
I can't either.
Oh no. Oops. Can you hear me now? Hello?
But your lipstick is gorgeous.
Oh no.
I don't want to. We hear you.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay, because I was like, I do not want to put on my daughter's pink headphones, so thank you. Okay. All right. So I get balance. I have to balance my life because I have 3 children as well. One is 18, 16, and 14. Husband, along with conducting 4 orchestras and running a business. So with the business, I do have 25 teaching artists that go out into all these schools and either work specifically with theater or with instrumental music and things of that sort. So my job is mainly to just oversee all of those instructors and work with my operations manager to just keep the finances balanced with all that we're doing. But it's taken me years, because honestly, my first 7 years of doing this, of 17 years, I didn't get paid. I just did the work. I did everything and hired a few people here and there, but I had to really quickly get balanced. And my husband was like, you better get this together, sister. This is not working. So it took me some time, but yeah, but you're right. You can't, there's so much going on that you can't necessarily take it all home with you, even though it does still come home, but you just have to create the balance the best way you can. So I've had to learn the hard way with that as well. I'm not perfect. There's a lot, but we know the work never stops. It just continues. So you got to learn how to put some of it aside just to breathe a bit and take care of you. So yeah.
Plus, I had a wake-up call recently. There was an article, it was a Black female doctor, I want to say out of Atlanta, who had a heart attack in her 30s and passed away. And I was just like, what? And then the article was saying a lot of Black women are at risk of that because we take on so much, because the stress can actually kill you. So I've been very intentional. Like I changed my eating habits. I very intentional about my, although I'm a work in progress, y'all. A work in progress. And that's one of the things I know with the pandemic and thinking, how can I help? A colleague of mine and I decided we're going to do a woman of color coaching program, and it's more about empowerment and self-care, because women of color were the highest growing demographic of entrepreneurs prior to the COVID, 35 to 55, and we've been the most impacted since COVID. So more of us have lost our jobs. So we're the ones in the need of the most care. And I was like, well, that's what we'll do. So it's in the works. It's
beautiful.
In the works. I keep saying I got to stop saying yes, but I'm like, oh, I want to do this, and then I want to do this, but I can't wait. So I don't do it all. I don't do anything alone. Pretty much everything is a collaboration, which is fun.
And
That's
and like you said
so
that,
needed.
and as like you said that, Black women, got kind of hit the most. As two amazing Black women yourselves, did you ever have those moments where you kind of were like, wow, this business, those self-doubts, and then you were like, no, I can do this? Or you had those moments of people maybe doubting you when you were creating your business, or maybe you've been in this business?
Let me speak to that first, because I'm telling you, in Orange County, it was rough starting this business. I started out I was already a teacher for 10 years within the Irvine School District. They had me as a master teacher and all this other wonderful stuff, conducting honor orchestras. It was beautiful. But when I started this, I just saw that one district had a lot and other districts didn't. There are kids who had nothing in Santa Ana and other places. So when I did take it on and started working with the schools, and again, I mentioned towards the beginning, I was doing a lot of going to school. I've had one office I walked into, and again, in Orange County, everyone's pretty much white. Nothing wrong with that. It's just how it is. But I walked into one office, and the secretary was like, I go, I'm here to just bring some materials to one of my teachers. And the lady was like, well, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm Debora Wonderchek. And she said, oh, I thought you'd look more like me. I was like,
wow.
What? What? She said that? She said
this wasn't 1950?
Oh my, this honestly was like just a few years ago. And this woman was a 55, maybe 60-year-old white woman, plump, shorter. And she just thought from my name and the fact that I was running she kept hearing my name. Debora Wonderchek runs the music program. She's like, oh, I thought you'd look more like me. Oh, okay. Oh, well, here's your stuff. Go. And I'm like, oh, that is so rude. But it's comments like that you just kind of, it's frustrating. But I have to just blow
you should
it
go
off
Black girl magic.
I know. The thing is, if you know how it is, if you address them right on the spot, then you look like an angry Black woman, and then there's a whole reputation behind that too. So I had to kind of swallow that and go, oh, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just gonna, which I shouldn't have to do. But that's all that's systemic.
And you know what? You don't anymore, but that's another conversation.
That's
There's
a whole nother.
You know what? Tell me, why did you think that? I mean, just come from a place of really trying to understand versus condemning her for saying it. Because obviously you had the emotional reaction initially, but just, okay, let's go with that. What made you think that? And just unpeel it.
Right.
And you'll see the light bulb go off, because that's a teachable moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you probably get that more because you're in Orange County, so there'll be more opportunities for teachable moments.
Oh my goodness.
But you do have to check your emotion, though. That's the challenge, right? Is why to check our emotion. But
exactly.
That's what it is. Call me.
Okay. I need some key words and some key phrases for people like that. Yes. I will call you.
Leigh, did you have any moments like that? Starting your business or during your business?
Oh, God. Not so much in my business, because I work more in the nonprofit space, so I think we don't see that as much. Although I will say one of the things that saddened me was, I want to say it's a recent Harvard study, maybe a year or two old, where we found that most nonprofit leaders are white, even though most nonprofits are run by people of color. And so I've been on another like, we gotta fix that. If we're gonna be all kumbaya, we got to be inclusive with that. But yeah, in this space, I don't get that. I know before I got into work, like my first career out of college, I worked at a car dealership, and I was moving up the ranks. And a guy actually told me, Leigh, they're never gonna make you a manager because you're a Black woman and you're in the South. I was in North Carolina, and it was just like, I was like, oh, but they keep promoting this guy who's an idiot. Even just bad idiot. Everybody called him an idiot. And they were like, yeah, you'd be so much better, but I'm a Black woman. And I was like, okay, all right. So getting out of the car industry, let me move over into banking. What was I thinking? Right? That wasn't necessarily like a direct route up to the glass ceiling, but they didn't tell me no. And I actually had a really good mentor who made me feel like I belonged, and that's important. Sometime I felt like I belonged until I got older and realized what belonging really felt like. And then I was like, oh, okay. So maybe I wasn't totally there, but it's, it's a journey and we learn. I think when you're, and probably Debora, you can speak to this too, when you're in spaces where you're the one of two or the one person of room, you get kind of comfortable with the uncomfortableness. Like that's your norm.
Right.
So you can move around in that space. And then I was fortunate when I moved out here when I was 13 to live with my dad, I went to the School of the Arts. Such an amazing experience because it was so diverse. I mean, we were friends based on who we were, not what we looked like. And it was, I can't tell you how wonderful experience that was. And we're still really close. Like my high school class, we're just like my brothers and sisters, and I can go sleep on a couch anytime I want to, right? And everybody doesn't have that. And I feel so fortunate and blessed to have such a group of friends. And now with George Floyd happened last year and all the things that are happening in the country, reach out to them and go, okay, you as a Hispanic woman, how do you feel about this? How is it landing for you as a Black male or you as an Asian, because they're in a circle. And we all know we're coming from a place of love and support. We can have those conversations and it not be like, and we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have the spectrum, but we all love each other. And so it's really, it's nice to see this. So I'm comfortable moving into that D&I space because I got people if I get in a comfortable bind, I can go, hey, what would you, how, is this landing? Am I off base? And I know they're going to check me, but it's going to be with love. And I can go, okay, my bad. Okay, I'll rewrite that.
Yeah.
So we need people like that. We do. We need people. We need to see the color. That's important. Diversity is the beautiful thing. If we were all the same, that would be boring.
Absolutely.
Yes. I can preach, so y'all have to cut me off.
Well, I have
No,
to.
preach.
I totally agree with you. I mean, even though I've been like the Lone Ranger, especially with being a Black woman running a performing arts organization in Orange County, Costa Mesa at that, I've made a point to hire diversely. We've probably got more Black people in my building than we do in all of Costa Mesa, because
Costa Mesa.
Black, yeah, Black, Hispanic, Dominican Republic, we've got it all. We've got it all represented there. And
That's
so anytime I'm
beautiful.
dealing with things, we bounce it off of each other. And I know I'm going to get a diverse answer back because we're not all the same, but we are the most diverse organization around. And I have to have that. I don't want to be a Lone Ranger. I need to be surrounded
Right. Yeah.
by others that are different and are going to have a perspective that's going to help lift everyone up in the long run. So anyway, so I totally agree with you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I can't wait till this is over. I want to come see you.
Yeah, me too. Come see you.
Yes, connections.
Right.
I have a question though, because Leigh, you brought up George Floyd, and when all of this kind of was happening, did you feel like the Black Lives Matter movement kind of played a part in your organizations, either one of you, maybe with your students or maybe within your own staff, maybe bringing it up, or also because, there's been that hype about, oh, if it's a Black-owned business, support them. Have you seen that as well?
I've definitely seen that, which I think it's about time, because systemically our country has said not to support them. So it's about time we get support them.
Absolutely.
So I'm enjoying that part. And as far as George, I did the diversity equity work that I did prior to last summer was on the periphery. Most of my focus was housing related and entrepreneurship related. I had been working in this space, but as intentionally as I am now. So once that happened and I realized that I'm in a unique position to be able to talk to all kinds of people because of my upbringing, and they'll hear me. Because I noticed on my Facebook page that I had a few friends who happen to be white, as what's my favorite comedian? She's all Hannah's. They happen to be white. They would reach out and ask questions, and they would sometimes get a negative response just because they asked a question. And I understand, right? I understand that it's not our job to educate you. But on the other hand, if someone is genuinely trying to learn, I'm trying to help them if I can. And that's probably just the teacher in me. So I found I was having more of those conversations and being in spaces where we were having those types of conversations. And I said, all right, universe, you're pointing me in this direction. Let me stick my toe in a little bit. And I was already a D&I committee for a national organization. So I already was kind of doing some of the work anyway. But I definitely, after the summer, and then I started to get more calls to talk to college students and like that. And so the more that happened, I was like, all right, I'm gonna stop fighting it. We're gonna go ahead and add that pool of social justice work. But it's been a good transition somewhat. But I really feel all social justice when you look at it in each area. It's kind of like, when Martin Luther King fought for civil rights, it was also housing, it was also income equity, it was all of it. I think we try to parse out a piece and go, okay, we can eat this little bite over here, but it's all of it. The systemic things that kept us down didn't just affect us in one way, right? Burning down our communities didn't just burn down our houses, it burnt down our buildings, it burnt down our families, it burnt down our communities as a whole. And so we have to approach it holistically. How do we build up all of those pieces? And so I'm a minimalist, believe it or not. I live in an RV. I live simple, and I don't do it for the money. I do it for the love of the work. Absolutely. I would do it for free if I could afford to. So this is definitely my life's calling, and I just, I love it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
For me, for the whole George Floyd thing, it did change. It didn't change my organization at all because, as Leigh was talking about, she was already in a position to have people connect with her. Same with us. Our whole mission statement was about equity and making sure the arts were accessible already. It was just, once it happened, I had so many people contacting me. Can you be on this DEI committee? Can you represent this? I'm like, what? And at the same time, too, I kept thinking, okay, this is a beautiful thing. All of the people, all of us uniting as one, but how long is this going to last? Is this really the thing that's going to change? I was kind of skeptical at first. There was something different about, obviously, George Floyd, that it was like, wait a minute, maybe this is what it's going to take to change. So I had more people contacting me, asking questions on the down low, personally. And then, like I said, a lot of others just, asking, can you join this? Can you join that? So I kept doing what I was doing. It's just now people are recognizing a little bit. They recognize that I'm Black. You know what I mean? Like they knew, but now it's like, oh, the Black person.
I don't have to be colorblind.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right. Yes.
Funny.
You're like, oh yes, this is what she looked like all along.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Why are Black-owned businesses so important to have in every community? Or even just people of color in general having businesses?
Ooh. I think they're important because research shows that minority businesses owned by minorities hire more minorities. White businesses hire mostly white people. Minorities hire all people, not just minorities. They hire all people. So it's more skills. It's a minority-owned business versus the other way around. So if we're really going to move towards a multi-racial society and equality and justice, we got to start lifting up our entrepreneurs of color. We got to.
Yes, I love that.
I agree 100%, and I'm also thinking that Black businesses or hiring different Black people in itself, we're really behind the scenes. It just seems like we're not in the forefront, and it's really important. Like Leah just mentioned, we need to hire each other and make more opportunities for each other. It just has to be done. Yeah. And if we're not if we're not in these positions to do so, we're going to keep seeing what we've seen in the past. Not a lot of us in leadership roles, not a lot of us in these higher paying positions, just because the opportunity isn't there. So I agree 100%. We need more exposure.
Yeah. Although I will say, since the summer on my LinkedIn feed, I've been seeing more Black women getting it done, and it invigorates me every day. I go in and it's like Black girl magic again, Black girl magic, Black girl magic, and so I'm like, okay, how do I get into that Black girl magic? And networking has picked up, and the beautiful thing with women of color networking, and I've been to so many networking over the years, so many, but when it's more of a community. It's like, oh, okay, I'm here, so I'm going to lift up somebody else. Not crabs in a barrel, but I'm going to bring somebody else with me. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to be in this space in this time right now, because that's what's happening. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. Yes. There was with my organization, it is a nonprofit. And so I was on this call. I was, again, invited to another Zoom with Black women or Black people, which was beautiful. This one was for Black people. Other ones, it's like, can you be the Black person to represent Black people? So it's different. But
very different dynamic.
Very different. This one was people of color. It was basically Black people that are grant writers for nonprofits. There were about 75 of us on this call. And just to see the color spectrum of Black people and the beauty, all of us were in awe of the Zoom. We all just sat there like, we're here together. We love each other. Let's get it done. It was beautiful. Right. And it's things like that because of this whole Black Lives Matter, George Floyd thing, that's beautiful to see, like you said, the coming together and us just standing and saying, let's get this done and let's help each other. And it's just beautiful seeing that. So I've seen a lot more of that recently, and I'm all for that. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
You mentioned
There's enough work for everybody, right?
Yes.
There is enough work for everyone.
Yes. You also mentioned, nonprofit and stuff, but I want to know, how can we know more about your businesses? Where can people go to see and learn more about your business? Do you have a website? Anywhere for them to go?
Debora, you want to?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, so
no problem.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a website. It's artsandlearning.org. It's all spelled out, one word, artsandlearning.org. And on that site, you'll be able to find out more about classes that we're offering. We are going to be doing an audition for a production in April. We're going to audition virtually, but our hope is to do the production live outside in an amphitheater. And we're doing a production called Once on This Island. It's part of our Activision. Yeah, it's our activism project. And we specifically chose that play because it's on an island and it's about a black woman, a black girl who falls in love with a light-skinned male. And on that island, they've got all these isms. They have racism there. They have ageism. There's all these different things going on. And it's the haves versus the have-nots. But we picked that particular production because we have to have Black leads. It's all about Black empowerment with this production, along with having brown and other colors. So I would love for anyone who hears this to share with others that we will be auditioning August 30th and May 1st for Once on This Island. I have a Black director, plan on having a Black music director, Black lighting designer. It is going to be empowered, and the children and youth are going to leave empowered. We're also having a Black drama. It's called a dramaturg, and what they do is they study the history behind the play and tell the actors this is what the director or the writer intent was for the production. We're doing that. We're also going to have Douglas Haynes from UCI, who is a chancellor at UCI over diversity on the campus. He's going to be speaking to our students and giving them a call of action as to what's next. What can they do to make a difference artistically and just regular day-to-day life with all that's happening. So join us with Arts and Learning.
I love that.
I was taking notes.
Yeah.
Join.
Amazing, because the kids won't just have like this fun theater experience, but they'll take away like life learning experiences as well, that things that they can apply to their life after. Oh my gosh. Please let us know when those tickets are sold, because I will be in attendance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we go to your website and sign up? Your newsletter or listserv or something like that?
Yes, if you go to the website, you can definitely sign up. So again, it's artsandlearning.org. The cast itself will be ages 10 to 19. So if you know of any children of color, Black, brown, whatever, send them our way. But definitely we have to have the Black representation from that show. So yes, that's what we're doing. Join us.
That's a fun show.
Look, I'm on the alumni board of my high school, so we can send some of those maybe live in the area over your way. I would love to.
Absolutely.
Do that.
Thank you.
Cool. So, and for me, my website is ubuntulearn.org. And don't judge me. I'm in the process of updating it. So it needs some work, but go ahead and sign up, because the listserv, and I can keep you updated. Like I said, we're rolling out a coaching program. There's one for women of color and resiliency, one for empowerment, putting together a certification program for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So kind of like LEED certification, you'll have a diversity certification. That way people can look at your organization and go, oh yeah, they're committed, or oh, maybe not. Because like you said, we didn't know if people were just talking or were they actually serious. And I think I called out one of the major companies on LinkedIn, and somebody snapped back and was like, they're giving $1 million. I can't believe you got an attitude. I was like, yeah, but what have they done? What have they done in the community?
Right.
They have done redlining, they have done blockbusting, they have, charged minorities higher. I'm looking at the track record. So you giving a little money to it doesn't impress me. What are you actually doing? And so I'm like, we don't have a certification like that. So I'm partnering again, collaborating to get that done, and still doing my HUD counselor classes and whatever I can get my hands on anytime I'm teaching. I'm pretty happy. Oh, and the entrepreneurship program, I can't believe I forgot about that. That's a collaboration, of course, Long Beach, where we're really just focusing on the three demographics that are most under-resourced in this community, which is Black, Latinx, and Cambodian. And so all of us are coming together to put together an entrepreneurship program, because that's what brings people out of poverty, really. And what's interesting is when I was in Africa, you saw that almost like a natural talent. So I wonder if just the way our system is set up, it kind of trains the entrepreneurship out. Like, I think we're natural creatives, we're natural problem solvers, but our school system just teaches rote knowledge, and so it doesn't teach you to kind of think for yourself and be strategic and critical. But when you're allowed to flourish like that, you can create all sorts of, and kind of like I said about Black women. So I look forward to seeing the folks that come through our first cohort. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
But UbuntuLearn.org is where you go.
So you sign up.
If they
on
go to
the
website and just give me their information, just put it in like you're just signing up for the listserv, and then when we're ready to, we'll do a blast to everybody so they'll know. And we're also, for folks who want to maybe sponsor someone, doing that too. So if you want to do that, that's fine. But it's a collaborative.
I did want to mention one more thing. With the programs that we have, we are teamed up and collaborating with different universities to create scholarships, like I had experienced as a child going into college.
Nice.
We have scholarships available for students who stay with the program or even come in at high school to mentor them and make these different opportunities available to them to go to a four-year university. So that's part of our program as well.
Cool.
Yes.
Yay.
That's exciting.
No, but yay to you.
Exciting. That's exciting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I want to just keep talking to both of you about everything you guys are doing so much more, but we're about to wrap it up. But the last thing I would like to ask you is, say, somebody's watching this, a person of color is wanting to open up their own business, like you said, they'd be an entrepreneur. How would they go about that, and what kind of advice would you give them with them just starting out?
The city of Long Beach is actually doing some pretty amazing things. They've got a website, and they're going to shoot me because I'm blanking out on the actual address, but there is a website that it basically takes them through, and there've been a few folks kind of working to put this together, and it has all the resources they need to start. But I would also say, if there's something you really want to do, the information out there, you just have to look for it. Like, the first couple businesses I started, I didn't know I couldn't. So I was just like, I think I need to know this. And I just, I went to the state, I found out what documentation I needed to file the paperwork, and the rest of the information was there. And you can, right? You can Google. But the city of Long Beach actually does. And what I can do is I can put that link on my website. So if they come to my website and say they're interested in that information, I can make sure they get it. But it's a wonderful site that it has access to resources. It has access to education. Just everything you need as an entrepreneur is on that site, along with all the key players like my organization, Entrepreneur Mindset. There are other organizations that teach fundamentals. So you kind of get a little bit from everybody. We all have something to contribute. And we do it, depending on what organization you go to, in a very culturally appropriate way. So you feel a sense of community and belonging, and it's not just somebody, a talking head at you. We want to make sure you succeed. So, yeah, definitely have them come sign up. And I'm sorry if you're watching this, I will get that website.
I would probably say, if you're someone interested in starting a nonprofit, there are a lot of different nonprofit mentoring or agencies. One that I'm working with is EC of OC. executive coaches of Orange County. They work specifically with nonprofits, and they can help you within whatever different nonprofits you're looking to go into, whether it's for homelessness, food for different people, the medical profession of helping others. They have a lot of resources. Also, One OC is another place that has a lot of resources for nonprofit businesses as well. So getting a mentor would be a big step to move you forward with what you need to do.
And I'll add one thing. If it's a business you're not with the ins and outs, then go work with someone in that business so you can learn the business before you start creating it. Because you may find out once you get in it that it's not all you cracked up to be. And you might be like, okay, I don't really want to do this. You don't want to spend all your money and then realize you don't like it. So definitely get your feet wet first.
That's smart.
Yes.
That's good.
Thank you for this advice. I'm so thankful that you both came on tonight and shared your wisdom, and also just to learn about all the amazing things you both are doing within your communities. I am just so at awe by both of you. And thank you once again. And everybody listening, please go check out their websites and see the amazing work that they're doing, because I know we only touched the surface of everything that goes on. Like I said, you guys wear many hats. But yes, thank you once again. And thank you everybody for listening, and have a great night. So yeah, bye everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.